So we have these two aspects of our being, the personality. Now, most of the world thinks they're their personality. And then you might think, well, what's the problem with that? And then I'd say, look at the world. Everyone's killing each other. So this is a crazy world. So I believe I'm me, you believe you're you. And then if that goes unexamined, that's all there ever is. My football team, my politics, maybe my gender, maybe my sexuality, maybe my this, maybe my that, maybe all of these things. And then the tighter I hold on to the aspects of myself, the more I see you as a threat. You're a threat to my football team. I don't have a football team, just to let you know. So, so I believe I'm all the stories of my mind. Christ calls this being born of the flesh. And then usually our stories are different. And so I'm so threatened by your story, and you're so threatened by my story. You either put up with me and, we're friends, unless I change the story about who I am. If I change my political party, now we don't like each other anymore. I haven't changed, but, now you have a story that doesn't match my story. I don't play the part that you want me to play in your story anymore. So we say goodbye and we go our separate ways, or we hate each other, or in worst case scenario, we go to war with each other. So this is the darkness in the personality. That's the survival mechanism. But then we have a soul, and we have something else. Everyone's looking for their soul, everyone. But they're looking in all the wrong places. So they're looking for love, a type of love that will fulfill them fully. Maybe in their nation, in their football team, in their partner, in their something. And then I often say, yeah, wow, it's been a bit fiery tonight, so bear with me. It's usually very sweet. Tonight there's a bit of fire there. I'm seeing, so, so. So it's next to impossible to connect through the flesh. Very, very hard. So there's never really a fullness of love between two personalities. There's always a bit of friction, even in a beautiful friendship, even in a beautiful relationship. There's the niggle, and there's the please keep on behaving like this, or keep on doing this, So there's so often an underlying fear there, Well, thank you for supporting me, Trisha. Is that like the football team? I'll get some scarves. So then the mystics say that the only way out of this insanity is that it's called enlightenment. It means know yourself. And so then which self is that? And if I know myself, do I just cease to exist? And so that's what we're trying to find out. But then it seems that the more that we do our practice, the more we meditate, the deeper we go, we find there's something else about us, something that isn't limited to the personality, something that isn't even like about behavior modification. So this means what starts to come through us, like we don't change that much necessarily, but what starts to come through us as we go through this process of awakening, it's not born of the flesh. It's another part of our being. And then we can notice, you know, we become a channel of something. And that something isn't not us. It's not something out there that comes through us. It's just another aspect of our being that it was more subtle than our personality and what we call our everyday thinking, everyday mind. And so then we decide, you know, we can either be a pipe and that brings forth things into the world, and that can be a sewerage pipe, or it can be a fresh water spring. So that's the healing journey. So eventually what's coming through us is more than the us that we've been trained to believe that we are. And so this is the ability, we could say, to turn the mind to God, to the light. And then we go through the 3 stages of awakening, spoken about that before. First stage, I'm in the light. It means because I'm in it, it seems that it's outside of me, like being in water. So the light is my teacher, my guru, the statue of Krishna, something I perceive in my meditation is out there. But then if we keep on looking at that, keep on focusing, we'll start to realize that the light we perceive as out there can't be out there, because we can't experience anything outside of ourselves. So even though it seems to be out there, if we stick with it, we'll start to awaken to the fact that what we thought was out there is in here. And so then the second stage comes. No, the light is within me. And then that lasts for a while. And then slowly that light, instead of just being within us, we realize that that's who we are. But we can't just kind of get there. This is why all the mystical paths are paths of cleaning, cleansing, healing, and awakening. We're slowly removing, like Rumi calls it, the veils from the light. You know, a veil, you can see through a veil clearly. But then you put another veil there, the light's slightly dimmer. Another veil, and another veil. So we're removing the veils, and with each veil that's removed from our consciousness, from our perception, the light just gets slightly brighter. And it's hard because you see so many things about the world. But then you don't want to preempt, you know, what the world is, because, you know, you don't want to let people know that they're living in an insane asylum. So don't worry about that. Ignore that. So the insane asylum means this world is crazy. You know, so much hatred, so much subtle battles, even in our spirituality. Am I more spiritual? Are they more spiritual? You know, it goes so deep, this seed of separation, what Christ called the knowledge of good and evil, the thing that made us believe we'd stepped outside of the Garden of Eden. So here's the knowledge of good and evil in a nutshell. I'm good, they're evil. That's the knowledge of good and evil. But of course, everyone thinks they're the good one, and everyone else is the evil one. And the evil one thinks they're the good one. And, so this is the problem. So if the world is to heal, it needs a radical thing, something different. And that's what the Buddha called awakening. Awakening to the true nature of our existence. And when people do that, when people say, oh, I am the Tao, meaning I am the way, I am the light, I'm one with the divine, then we put them on a pedestal. But we don't hear them say that all of this you are capable of and more. So we do a cop out. It's all right. I'll leave it to them. So just tuning in, how do you feel at the moment? Are you in love? Not with me. Do you feel love? Is your heart open? And so, most of the time we can say no. So, so then we realize, here's the word. What is the obstacle to me shining in my light? Where is that obstacle? And then, ah, it's in my football team. That's the answer. It's not right, not right. So where is that? Oh, I thought it was the person, the government, the thing out there that I'm waiting to change. But then if we look deeply, there's certainly things going on in the world that aren't good. And of course, there's bad people, that we could say people who are unconscious to their nature, totally lost. But then there's a component of that political party, that nation, that religion, that government, that person that also exists in us. What I mean by that is we feel them within us. So the hatred or the fear or whatever is being triggered in us by that person, that situation, of course, there might be practical means we need to do something. But also, how can we work with a component part within our being? How can what is it in me that is terrified, that is irritated? What is it in me that is there? And so there's the invitation. Well, we spoke last week about annoying neighbors. And of course, we don't want to be in a situation where we're putting ourselves in bad situations, No point to that. So, of course, if you have a headache pill. Don't go, don't analyze it too much. Oh, is this because of my childhood? Just take a headache pill. but also we can examine how do I meet this obstacle of fear and hatred and closed-heartedness in me. If we look deep enough into that, we find the blockage in our energy flow, in our chi, usually in our chakra system or our subtle body. We find a childhood trauma or something in life which was held unconsciously in the body and that's restricting the chi flow. And we call that a painful feeling, painful emotion. And so, painful emotion, what do we do with the pain, the sadness, the sorrow, the suffering? What do we do with that emotional dis-ease? How do we bring ease to that? So we bring love to it. Hello pain, hello sadness, hello despair. I see that I've been running away from you. I see that I've been ignoring you. I see that I've been rejecting you. But now you're welcome back into my heart with compassion, with love. You know, Rumi wrote a whole poem about this, The Guest House. And come home. Come and sit with me. Come and you're welcome at the table too. Sadness, grief. You're welcome. I love you. So everything is brought into love. And so we bring all the sorrow in the flesh, the human condition, the pain, the trauma, and we gently lay it down in front of the light of the soul. And we notice that it was only a lack of love for that aspect of our being which was making it play up. And so these are what Rumi called, you know, he said, we're not here to seek for love. We're here to remove the barriers that we have built against it. And so this is what we call the healing journey. First journey of enlightenment. Recognize your light, your soul, your connection with the divine. It's already there. Second, allow that love to dissolve the pain in your emotions and your mind. And then you realize you can even surrender your healing journey to that divine love. It's said the path of devotion is where a salt doll is taken down into the ocean until it dissolves. So this is the journey of devotion and love. So the invitation in this moment, the first stage of taking yourself out of the insane asylum of this world is removing the insane asylum from within your being. And you do that by allowing that to happen. You know, if you cut your hand, as long as you keep it clean and fresh, it heals itself. The same with your mind and your heart. Just keep it in the cleanliness, the purity of your soul, your light, your presence, and the healing will just happen. But it's hard, you know. I know it's hard. Because this insane asylum has created an insane version of God. Judgmental, wrathful, egocentric, terrible human projection. So this slow awakening to your own light, you come to know what that higher truth is experientially, because because you come to know it necessarily, but you get to see the reflection of what you're becoming through your prayer, through your devotion, through your path of love. And so slowly you start to change. So in this moment, my invitation, just sit in that love. Almost feel it embracing any pain, any emotional turmoil, embracing every part of your being. You could imagine just breathing into yourself, welcoming it in. Sometimes a nice way of grounding into your belly, into your body, is breathing to your belly. Smiling inwardly to yourself. And you can literally just invite yourself to open to that light, to that presence, as much or as little as you would like. All these mystical traditions, they always use a flower, whether it's a lotus flower of the East, or most of the Western traditions tend to use a rose. But the idea is a gentle opening, silent, gentle opening to the light. And a willingness just to receive that peace, that love. You know, the final words of the Buddha, I think it was a warning. He said, become a light or an island unto yourself. I think he saw what was coming, that everyone would start worshipping him. I'm trying to understand his teachings by following them in the book. He's just saying, the Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, the soul, it's inside of you. Learn how to listen, to connect. And awaken. Of course, awaken means pay attention. What I find interesting in my journey, and I guess it might be the same for many people's, is everything that's actually good for me is always the last choice. It's always the last thing I turn to, you know. So I literally have to be pushed off the cliff before I surrender. No, 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 no. Pushed all the way there. No, to the edge. Jump. No, no, no. Push. Well, okay, I might as well surrender now. I'm terrified. And then it all kind of works out. So yeah, I hear your resistance, and I certainly, I guess many of us, including myself, recognize that as well. That it's like, God, it just takes you to the edge, or at least me, time and time again. And sometimes it feels like it's punishing me more. It's like, why am I being punished? Why is this happening now? And it's like, oh, because I didn't surrender again. Because I thought I was in charge. I want this and I don't want that. And I want this to work out this way. And I want this to happen. And this my teacher in India, he used to say the Christian cross, the crucifix is I crossed out. so, so it's me. But it's hard. It's hard because we're having to develop faith in a force that there's no reason to believe in. There's really no reason to believe in that because, religions are trying to do their job of telling us about it. We might have an experience along the way, powerful awakening experience, but 2, 3 years later, we're like, did I make that up? Did that actually happen? Because we're in the middle of this debt and this life problem. It seems like that doesn't seem real right now. So it's like all the cards are stacked against us. Why would we believe in that? When there's more evidence that we're just some kind of weird little fleshy robot with blood and a heart beating away, and that stops, and the brain stops. That's it. That's so much evidence for that. There's much more evidence that that could be real. So why would we believe? I mean, you could say belief is a miracle in itself because we've not really got any strong reasons to believe, other than it seems to work. You know. Mm. So mm, there's a presumption, I think, that I've certainly had. If I just sit around quietly, what then? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How do I get money, or how do I do all these things? And so I don't know if I spoke to it. No, I haven't spoke to it in this group. But I call them, funny enough, the clearest teaching on this I found is by Steve Jobs, uh, which might be a surprise. But he says your heart already knows what it wants to become. It's just the mind that gets in the way. And he calls it because of the dogma. And he said dogma is the result of other people's thinking. So there's a presumption that if I don't want things, how do I manifest? And so when we're trying to manifest, in my experience from the little I, little me, it's like a little half-charged Duracell battery saying, I'm going to light up the world. And of course, it's constantly struggling, getting drained, not having the clarity, not having the power. some people have maybe a good karma to do that, and I'm not in that category. I was saying, you know, there was King Midas. King Midas, I think, had the touched everything turned to gold. I have the other finger. So, everything turns to shit. So sorry about the language, but this isn't a church, so I can get away with it. So I had the other finger. And so I'm blessed with bad karma at manifesting. Tried all my life to manifest and nothing, just struggle. And my manifestation started to happen when I dropped the I. When I woke up, as I had been doing for a number of years, on and off, with anxiety at 3 o'clock in the morning. How am I going to pay my rent again to this week? How am I going to afford to buy my clothes? Clothes like Louis Vuitton handbag. So, that's a joke. As you can see, I like hoodies. How am I going to buy my food shopping? You know, like this was constant for me. And I had positive thinking, vision boards, you know, I will manifest. I am unstoppable. I am a force of nature. I am one with God, you know, I. And then one night, to help me get back to sleep, I was listening to something called the wisdom teachings of Jesus, or the commandments of Jesus, where he gave advice. And it was put to this beautiful Arabic music, and it was done as a 1 hour meditation, all his sayings and his teachings as a wisdom teacher. He was ultimately a wisdom teacher. And one of his sayings was, you don't get into the kingdom of heaven by saying God, 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 but only by carrying out the will of the Father. And so something hit me like a lightning bolt. And I realized that I'd been trying to manifest from me. I'd never asked God what he, she, that, the light, whatever you want to refer to that, the higher self, the universal consciousness, whatever you want to label that. I'd never asked what he wanted. So that morning I thought, you know what? I'm sick of running my life. So it's like, right, show me. What do you want? And so he left me stewing for 3 hours on the first day and didn't say anything. So I thought I'd try again tomorrow. Nothing else is working. And so second morning, sat there, you just let me know. I'll work in a charity shop. I'll sweep the streets, whatever you want. You just tell me. I'll do it. Because this isn't working for me. Me trying to run my life. Anyway, 3 weeks later, you know, she trebled my income, and then I've never looked back. She just showed. I thought, so let's look at that. I was like, I'll sweep the streets, I'll do this, do that. The divine was like, no, you do what you're here to do. You answer your calling to be a meditation teacher, a healer. But I'm going to look after you and make sure that you've got financial support and all that kind of stuff doing that. So that was 2 years ago. So the answer is, you know, my manifestations, whether that's miracles in my physical healing in hospital, when, you know, I had a miracle there, financial miracles, they've never ceased to stop since I surrendered and said, okay, every morning, my only prayer, show me, I'm yours. You put me wherever you want to put me, show me what you want to do. And somehow that divine will is echoed in my heart. So it means I'm not being told to do things that I don't want to do. It's almost I start to live my soul purpose. And you know, Christ says this in the Bible. You know, he says, first seek the kingdom of heaven, which he says is within us and all around us. He says, first seek the kingdom of heaven and act with righteousness. I don't like that word. I think he meant act with love and compassion. So first, feel the vibration of heaven, the alignment within and without, and act with love. And he says, everything will be given unto you. I'll look after you, you know. In the Sermon on the Mount, does he not look after the birds of the air and they don't toil and they don't struggle. And how much more will he look after you? So this idea that I have to manifest is the barrier. That's the barrier. Like there is a divine force that loves us more than we love ourselves. That's why self-love is needed a little with a personality, but it's not really needed because the divine loves us more than we love ourselves. So if we live in that essence, self-love isn't even needed because we're in love all the time and we're feeling like we're being loved by a force that's beyond us, that more than we can even imagine. So that's the path. So there's only one spiritual practice that will bring you to fulfillment. I'll do a pause so you all go, twice. So let me just pause dramatically. So, so the desire to awaken, the desire to not suffer. That's the only spiritual practice that works. And so how does that work? Well, it's called the law of attraction. So the medicine you need is unique to you. I can't say, do my spiritual practice and that will awaken you. You know, so many spiritual practices. But if you really desire to be free of suffering, like that was the Buddha's whole search. That's all he was interested in. You know, he saw human suffering, thought, man, I don't want that. And I don't want people to feel that. Is there a way out? And his intensity of his search called in the teachers, the practices, until eventually, you know, the awakening happened. And so first and foremost, the desire to be free of suffering. So what's the best way of being free of suffering? Really wanting. So what's the best way of wanting not to have toothache? It's not when you don't have toothache. If you don't have toothache, I'm not bothered about being free of toothache. When you've got toothache, you'll do anything to be free of toothache. So if you have personality ache, then you'll do whatever it takes to be free of that. But then it's not all bad news, okay? So it's only the artificial self that is experiencing psychological and emotions suffering. It's only the ego that gets crucified. That's part of it. So the suffering eventually forces you to let go of that which is suffering. Your soul was never suffering. You know, your light, your presence, that was never suffering. But your mind, emotions, they're suffering, creating hell for you. Oh yeah, the money isn't in my bank to pay this bill. Full stop. Mind says, oh my God, this is going to happen. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to live on the streets. This always happens to me. How has everyone else got it so well and I've got it so, what have I done in my, oh, God hates me. So it's huge drama. And that's most of the sufferings in the drama, not in the event. So a little bit of suffering gets us to ask bigger questions. The one question is, there's only one question, but we phrase it differently. How do I stop suffering? What's the way out? And so, yeah, that's the Zen koan. How do I stop suffering? Even if my body is suffering, even if there's no money there, even if I'm falling out with my lover, even if whatever. How do I stop suffering? And the desire to answer that, the real desire will set you free. And then just slowly, something else opens. And you realize, as Lao Tzu said, when I was young in my spiritual practice, I thought I was here to change the world. But now I'm old and wise. I realize I'm just here to change myself. So in other words, how do I change myself just in this moment, just for today? And then here's a secret ingredient. I'll dramatically pause again. So it's, in the end, the relief is, there's a force that creates universes that's on my side. My whole thing was just to surrender to that. That's it. That's all the spiritual paths. Whether in Taoism and Zen, you get to let go in the end. You get to the point where you realize you don't know and you're okay with that. The great mystery, Or in the devotional traditions of all the devotional traditions, they all say they end when you finally reach surrender. Surrender. And now I don't have to figure out, oh, if there's no money today. Okay, God, you take care of this. I'm just going to stay in love with you. Oh, sickness diagnosis. Medical, can't help it. Okay, no problem. God, you take care of this. I'm just here to love. And so then the heart becomes more at ease. But as I've said before, there's so much fear in us because we're projecting a tyrannical archetype towards the divine. And that takes a while to break down, to dissolve, until we realize we're loved 24/7 by a force that creates universes, our debt is small fry. It's like the universal consciousness isn't saying, oh, how am I going to get this solved out? I'm going to sort this problem out. I created star systems and galaxies, but oh my God, look at the interest rate. It's like, it doesn't think that way. That's just us. And of course, we'll feel the fear when these things come, and the body might shake, and there'll be anxiety there. And okay, this is the human body as fearful. So, hello, anxiety. Come and sit with me. Hello, fear. You're not rejected. You're welcome into the love as well. And then that's clearing out the energy body. The chi starts to expand again, and we move to what the Taoist said is a light body, means the body we're born with. The baby opens its eyes, and everyone goes, oh, a soul has arrived. They don't know why they cry, and they feel so in love. A pure soul is there. And the pure soul looks out at the world and goes, oh my God, wow. Oh, what is this place? I'm hungry, I'm cold all of a sudden. What the hell is this place? And then the doctor slaps slap. What the hell is this place? So, so then we start. We're trying to get back to that. Well, this kind of brings us towards the end of our session.